Hello, Komi.
Hello. Yes, hello,
How's it
Peter.
going?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing
I'm
good. I'm doing good.
fine.
I'm
I'm
doing good.
fine.
How is
And how are you doing?
Cyprus? Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
doing great.
Cyprus is great. Cyprus is great. We're good. So glad to connect with you again this
Same
evening.
here.
And good to have you, brother. And also greetings to everybody watching us, everybody that's joining us today. We say a warm greetings to you. We are so glad, so happy to have you with us today. Um, and we have so much just loaded and waiting for us as we move on today. So, Oti, tell us, what do we have today?
Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome. So once again, we're to Peter, and with me today is Komi Marvin. And in today's event, we'll be speaking with a young Pan African. A Pan African is a young person who is very excited about leaderships, excited about creating change, causing impact, and all that. And for young people like us who are always very optimistic about the future, at least we're optimistic in the future to the standpoint that, we want to be part of that future. We want to be
Exactly.
here. We want to live life. Sometimes for someone who is like 90 years, most of them would tell you about the good old days. And even though the world ends, they're like, the world can just end. But for a young person, we know that there are so many years. So I think
Exactly.
even though sometimes we are not happy about the way things are globally on our continent, inside us, everybody is always praying for things to be better because the betterment of things is also good for every one of us. Yeah. So today's event
Yeah,
is about.
Oti, before you continue, I would like to know those that are joining us. If you're joining us, can we just know your name? We can see a lot of persons online with us already. Can we know your name, where you're joining us from, and your expectation for tonight? Don't just watch the video. Make sure you like the video. We can see the likes coming in. Make sure you click on the like button, click on the share button. Tell us your name, where you're joining us from. We'd like to know more about you. Just go to the comment section, share your name with us. Where are you joining us from? Thank you very much, Celestina. We can see Celestina is here with us already. Tell us your name, where you're joining us from, and what is your expectation for tonight. Ensure you like and share the video with your friends so we can have a big house tonight. We have a great guest that will be joining us today all the way from Gambia, and it's going to be a wonderful and excited time. So back to you, Oti. Tell us what's up tonight.
All right. So tonight is a mismatch of some concepts. So we're talking about youth. We're talking about, and when we mean youth, we are referring to young people. So young
Exactly.
people, we're talking about Africa, and we're talking about leadership. So I don't know, probably at some point, Kumi might just flash the flyer for us to understand. And specifically, what we are mostly talking about today is not just leadership on its own. We are specifically looking at how young people across the continent, how we can utilize um, um, our collective to redefine the way things work and change the narrative of how things operate on the continent. So it's a fireside chat, not like an interview. We're just going to have conversations that are meant to be eye openers and give us the opportunity to learn as young persons. So we're talking about leadership, youth, and Africa, and the subtitle of the event itself is
Discussion.
"The Face of Africa." So with us today is
Exactly.
going to be Usman Ture. Usman Ture is an amazing young Pan Africanist, someone who has worked with the likes of Professor Lumumba, someone who has worked with a lot of organizations across Africa who are interested in not just the development of the continent, but in seeing how Africans can work as a collective to change and create impact programs on the continent. The truth of the matter is, well, sometimes we talk about narratives and how we can tell the African stories in more immersive ways, but people can't tell the story of Africa. The best people or the best person who can tell the story of Africa is the native of Africa, someone who has been on the continent, someone who understands our background, someone who understands our history, and someone who knows that the blood of the continent flows in his vein. So that's mostly going to be part of our discussion today because there's so many things that we talk about. Africa is this Africa. There's so much talk. how can we begin to take action, and how can young persons be part of all that? So that's mostly part of the conversations. So while we wait for Usman to join us today, I am Komi. Would begin the conversations and wait for him to join midway.
Thank you so much, Oti. Can you
All
hear
right,
me, Oti?
guys. Yeah, I can hear you, but you're not on the show right now. So for those of us that are joining in from wherever you're joining, please just keep on drop the comment when we're having the conversation. We'd love to also get your own take on what we are ruminating on, and that's mostly it. Really excited to keep serving you as part of 360 Leadership Network. And then, yeah, just before we delve in, just to talk briefly about 360 Leadership Network. 360 Leadership Network is an organization that is very passionate about leadership development. And our goal is to create well rounded leaders and also create a tribe of leaders. So, who are responsible for yourself and also responsible um, in terms of wanting to create value and impact in their community. Because one of the things that
Exactly.
we believe as an organization is that leadership is not just about leading people. You get
Yeah.
leadership must always flow from within to without. So first of all, self leadership to understand exactly what it means, understand our own vital role in the entire um, um, story or the drama of life, and exactly understand our role and our own plot in this particular drama called life. So once we understand that, that's how we can know exactly how can we start to fit in and cause change wherever we are.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Otobong. I think we have Eso Justina joining us from Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Thank you so much for joining us, Eso Justina. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And a host of others that are joining us. If you're just joining us, we want to know your name, where you're joining us from, and what's your expectation for tonight. We're talking about leadership in Africa. And just like Oti have said, Otobong have said, the greatest issue that Africa has is leadership. We don't have issue with resources. We don't have issue with manpower. We don't have issue with productivity. But the greatest issue of Africa is leadership. I know there's a lot of debate that says it's not leadership, it's citizenship. Citizens don't know what to do. They don't know their rights. They don't know how to stand for what they want. They don't know. They don't really know what it entails to be a citizen of a nation. But I think majority of the issue of Africa has to do with leadership. Has to do with
I would
leadership.
also opine that is leadership, because before
Exactly.
citizens even know what to do, the process of letting citizens know exactly what to do must be from a system that allows them to form the ideology about knowing what to
Mm,
do. And
thank you.
framing that system has a lot to
Mm,
do with leadership and the people who have the power to wield the machineries that are available to create those kind of systems. So we cannot say it's
exactly.
just. I know people also blame citizenship and say it's not just those in charge. So, and of course, they have very good point. But let's call
Mm,
a spade and say leadership. African leaders has failed the continent in so many ways. There's no way we can
yeah,
minimize the words about it. A lot of our leaders have failed the continent. So, but it's not
exactly.
time. I think today's conversation is not really about pointing hands. It's about knowing
Mm,
exactly what role can we as young persons begin to play while we allow everything to play out. And I think we had an
yes.
IG live event about 3 days ago, and I would love some
Yeah,
of those
true.
points to begin to come in as we have the conversation.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
And
Kobe,
I
like quickly, what do you just think about like leadership, especially how it is on the continent, and what do you think really needs to be redefined when we talk about the narrative of leadership on the continent?
okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Just you mentioned something about the event we did last week. Was it last week? Yesterday, right?
It was really amazing. It was on
On Thursday. On
Thursday.
Thursday,
That's
yeah. The
about,
event we
yeah,
did,
Thursday.
yes, the Instagram live. It was a very great event. I'd like everybody to go to 360 Leadership Network on Instagram
On
and watch
IG.
that event. Yes, it was a very wonderful time with amazing people, and we shared a lot about leadership. And just like you said, the issue of leadership in Africa, I think, just like I said during the IG live, that we have a lot of people in power that they have not successfully been able to lead themselves. And that is why in 360 Leadership Network, we believe that leadership has a lot to do with self-discovery than just leading people. Don't pick up someone that has not successfully led himself and his family before to go and lead a nation. Someone that's not successfully led a business that is standing, and you take that person to go and lead a nation. I think there's going to be a lot of issue in that space. So leadership has a lot to do with self-discovery than just leading people. We are meant to lead from our area of giftings. You search out yourself, you discover which area am I good at. Some persons are good at leadership, generally leading people, guiding people to become the best of what they can. And if you have that capacity, then you can, and you've successfully led yourself, led your family, your business, you have something you've done before, and then you can be entrusted with a nation. So we have a lot of persons in leadership in Africa that they have no track record. I think that's the best word to use. They have no successful track record of them leading both themselves and their families. And then you give them a whole nation to lead. So there's going to be a lot of chaos in that space. So I believe leadership should come out of expertise, especially when it comes to leading nations. There must be a track record. You must have been tested and tried, and then you found good, and then you can be entrusted with a nation to lead. So that's pretty much what I believe in that space. And I think when we begin to look in that direction, a lot of things will change. Over here in Cyprus, when I have some conversations with my friends that are Africans from other African nations, and you just hear lamenting. They lament all the time, talking about what is happening back at home, how that this happened in their nation, this leader did this, just a lot of corruption here and there. And we just begin to imagine, is the case of Africa different? Why every time we have to hear from home is one bad issue or the other? So I think we, the young persons, are really the ones that can change this narrative. If really we want to take the bull by the horn. I don't also just believe in taking the bull by the horn, but we'll cut the head of the bull and take it home this time. By we standing up to take responsibility. I believe we should take responsibility. We should decide not just that a young person should lead, no, but you should build yourself to that capacity that you can be entrusted with a nation, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You should hone your skills, develop yourself, enlarge your capacity, read books that will enrich your mind. So when you stand on such platforms, you can do very well.
Just to just buttress on the point, because I feel like it's like a flow. The events, everything I want to talk about today is very, very similar to most of the stuff we talked in our IG live, and I'll still opine. Please, if you did not join the IG live event on Thursday, go to 360 Leadership Network on IG and just watch the live video. That's like it was on Thursday. Yeah. So just look through it. You could just skip, and then you go to when the conversations became very this thing and began to flow. So one of the things that we had talked about was about leadership and young people. Most times we're like, the young person should be in government, the young people should be in government. I remember in my days in the university, and we had campus executives from the SUG, the Student Union Government. We had the faculty executives. We had the SRC, the Student Representative Council. We had the different. We had the I think SJC, Student Judicial Council, and all that. There was a lot of corruption even in the student body. We had cases of presidents on campuses becoming impeached. We have cases of students stealing funds that was meant to develop public properties or around campus. We had students steal student welfare. So the question is youth really the solution? At the end of the day, we find out that is not the youth that is just the solution. We have a systemic issue, an issue that has been planted deeply into the system. It has planted so deep into the system that it's like more like an ideology. That if you're a leader, you have to do this way. If you're a leader, you have to be you have to find a way to get enough for yourself, because after other people have done it. So yours, if you don't do it, it's as if you don't really know what you're doing. You are not wise. But that should not be the case. The truth of the matter is that Smart said something and said a lot of the young persons, some of them don't even understand what leadership is. Of recent, where I
Very
stay
true.
here in Abuja, there's been some issues with just local leadership somewhere at a level. You find out that some people opine that they understand what leadership is, but practically, when we talk about in a pragmatic sense, a lot of persons don't know what leadership entails.
Okay, thank you
Now,
so much.
okay,
I
is it
think
in
we have
now?
our, yeah, I think we have our guest around already.
All right, cool. That's amazing.
Yes, we'll be bringing him in shortly. We're bringing him in shortly.
So, ladies and gentlemen, drum roll.
Yes, we have our guest here, so we are really excited to have him. Um, I think he's here with us already. Okay, so it's really going to be a lot of conversation tonight. I want you to be ready and be prepared for what we have whilst our guest gets ready to 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 come in. Oti, can you begin to read his bio so we'll get him set to come in a jiffy? Can you hear me, Oti?
Yeah, I can hear you, Kobe. Just wanted to assess the bio. So, guys, as just like we earlier said today, that we're talking about young people. Our conversation today is focused on young people, leadership, and particularly the African continent. So, and today we have an amazing young person who is doing amazing things across the continent. And I'm talking of no one else than Usman Toure. Literally, this is someone you need to go out and check his profile, go through the things he's doing on the continent. Because for a young person, you see young people do stuff and you're like, wow, really, really amazing stuff. The level he's roving with is something that I think is a motivation for young people. So he's going to share how he got there and how he's able to do the things he's doing. And that's exactly what we want to learn as young persons and tell other people that it's very possible to do all that. So just to read his bio, he currently is the chairperson of the Young Ancestors Foundation. His bio reads that Usman Toure is a young, passionate Pan Africanist, an illustrious and compelling speaker born and bred in the Gambia. He is devoted to transforming the African continent through fostering Afrocentric development narratives, calling the African populace to unite, to own and to reclaim the African development narrative. Through the Young Ancestors Foundation, Osman is working relentlessly to unlock the potential of young people and galvanizing them to assert their prowess in making the Africa we want. So, if you've listened to the bio, this is someone who is passionate about Africa, passionate about young people, and passionate about the development of the continent. So, today, without further ado, I'll just um, call on the personality behind the name and himself, the man behind the gap. Let's hear from him directly. Really excited to have you, Usman. Hello, Komi.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are set to have the conversation right now. Whilst we wait for Usman, he's here already. Hello, welcome, sir.
Yeah,
Can you
thank
hear
you
me?
so much, my brother. Am I visible?
Yeah, we can hear you, but we can't see you.
Oh,
You're welcome,
okay.
Usman. I think your camera is still loading. Can't see you. It's totally dark.
Uh, Maybe I will have to log in again because everything is set on my end.
Oh, okay. Think, yeah, I think you need to log in again. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we are sorry for that break in transmission, but we are really ready for what we is coming for tonight. So please just prepare yourself. Don't be carried away by the distractions, but we really have a lot of conversation coming up shortly. So just stay on with us as we try to reconnect our speaker right back on. We get to fix him back. Just stay right on with us, please. Hello, Usman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh wow, wow! I can hear you too. I can hear you too. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Yes, thank you. We can see it's like you had a bit of network issues. We are so glad to
Yeah.
have you back.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Wow. So how are you doing, brother?
Yes, we're doing well. So am I visible this time?
Yes, we can see you. We can see you now.
Oh, good.
Very
Good.
visible.
Oh, good. Thank you so
Very
much.
visible. Yeah, welcome.
Good.
Welcome.
Good.
Okay.
Hello,
Oti,
Usman.
can
I
you
think it's good to have you on board too.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
okay, Oti, can you read his bio one more time? So we can get started with conversation whilst he's here with us. Thank you.
All right. So, okay, I've done the introduction, but just to, for emphasis,
Yes.
Osman Toure is a passionate Pan Africanist and illustrious and compelling speaker, born and bred in the Gambia. He's devoted to transforming the African continent through fostering Afrocentric development narratives, calling the African populace to unite, to own, and to reclaim the African development narrative. Through the Young Ancestors Foundation, Usman is working relentlessly to unlock the potential of young people and galvanizing them to assert their prowess in making the Africa we want. So we are seeing an amazing personality, someone who's passionate about Africa, passionate about
Amazing.
young people, and passionate about development and redefining the narrative of the continent.
Exactly.
Really
Thank you
great to have
so
you on
much.
board,
Thank
Usman.
you. We are really grateful to have you, brother. Thank you for all you do. Thank you. I remember the first time I saw a video of you, and I was so amazed to see the passion and the power at which you spoke as a young person, passionately about what you do, and trying to define the will I say the history of our great continent, Africa. Thank you so much, and we are really privileged to have you in a conversation with us today. For those that are watching us, can we just say a bit of welcome for those that are watching now, those that will watch later. Let's welcome our guest right now. Thank you so much. Let's go straight into the conversation for today, and we are going to start by knowing you. We've read your bio, but we now want to meet you. We know there are some other things that we should know about you that's not in the bio. So we want to meet you. We have the privilege of meeting you. Let's know more about you, brother.
Thank you so much. So just as you rightly said, I must first start by apologizing for the time, because it's somehow logistic issues. It's just how things are right here, and it's really difficult sometimes. But I just want to say that I want to thank you all for having been here, put your time and energy to make sure that we can definitely meet here online and equally have an engagement on the future of the continent, especially with the youths. Usman is a Gambian, born and bred in this country. I grew up like many of us, having an ambition or being ambitious as a young individual, even though it wasn't that easy coming from the place where I'm from, not just the Gambia, but imagine being in a provincial Gambia where even access to school was really difficult. So
Wow.
from birth, it has been a big journey. On are you even going to be in school first? Yes, now fortunate to be in school, but what type of school? So it is a similar challenge that many other young Africans in the continent undergo through. So knowing that, yes, this was a tough moment, but having parents equally that constantly remind us that, yes, we really need to strive, we really need to work beyond those zones. We really need to put our potentials and understand that it wasn't just where we're coming from, but we have a whole country that awaits us. We have a continent that awaits us. We have a people that waits for the potentials in us and how we can contribute in making positive impact in where we're coming from in other communities. So that's it. Going to school, finish my high school in Gambia, then got enrolled in the University of the Gambia again. Then in 2019, I completed my BSc program, and just around the completion of my program is when I started doing some engagements of this nature, where the things we learn in high school, the things we learn in the university, we started sharing with colleagues, started sharing online, meeting different individuals and doing these engagements to say, yes, we are here as a continent and we are here as a people. But do we really want to be stagnant? Do we really want to go back? Do we really want to move ahead? So these were constant discussions that we have while in the development unit in the University of the Gambia, where we explore, we redefine and look at these complex issues and debate about it. So that somehow triggered my interest more in Africa, especially on Pan-Africanism, questioning the leadership, questioning the development models, and somehow that has been a great contribution because once you put in questions to some of these things, you want to access more information as to what is really the issue, where are we getting it right, where are we getting it wrong. So somehow that questioning mold the Usman that is here today.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And quickly, we would like to know, how did you get into the space of I know you shared a bit about the development club and how you started speaking about the growth of Africa and all that. We now really want to know what was the point of passion, what really drove you into this very space, because you've carved out a niche for yourself right now, and that's what the whole of Africa and the whole world knows you for. So how really did you get into that niche and that space? What were the things you did that really brought you into the space that you are today?
Yes, thank you so much for that question. I must say one thing is, if you're interested in something, ask for what it takes to prepare yourself in that particular journey. So one of the things that I've been doing was I was really interested in the area of Pan-Africanism as a high school student. So when I was in high school, I remember in the history books, Pan-Africanism was nothing like a page or two. I read about this concept, okay, Pan-Africanism, and then few individuals were quoted in it, like the Garvey, the B. Du Bois, Nkrumah, and the list goes on. But this was just like one chapter in a book, which is not even up to 3 pages. I built a lot of interest in saying that I really need to know more about these concepts, because this is like a debate, this is an argument, these are people whom we today looked at as, extraordinary individuals that have contributed greatly in in our history, in regaining our independence, and the list goes on. Among nations, when you speak about Nigeria, there are individuals that stood during the nationalist movement. You speak about Ghana, and the list goes on. So I was really interested in how do I get more information about these people. So reading was my entry point to Pan-Africanism. Getting books that talks about these things, going online looking for debates that analyzes the contemporary issues in Africa and how our history can be used um, as a guide on the future. One of the great books of Walter Rodney, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, historic,
Exactly.
but an amazing book that really talks about a development on different facets.
Very
So
true.
books like The Destruction of Black Civilization by Chancellor Williams, some really amazing perspectives that can trigger the mind of an African child to really rethink about who they are and how things are really working. So at some point, reading this, watching online debates was really helpful in whatever I was doing. The second step was because I sometimes I consume a book and don't really have people to have a conversation with
Which
around when it comes
exactly.
to the knowledge or whatever information I grab from these books. And that makes me really, I mean, I cannot do that. Whenever I read a book, I need someone to
To
debate with
share
on.
those thoughts with and see a way of
Exactly.
galvanizing it
To have
together.
conversations with.
That's
Yeah.
the point. So what I was doing is I have a colleagues, I have friends. Then up till now we're still in touch. This was from
Wow.
high school going to the university. When I read any book, sometimes I invite them home on a weekend. We'll all sit down and I'll pass the book to them. Some of them will even go read a book that I've never seen just to come and have a debate with me. So it was just
That should
interesting.
be like a
And
book club or something.
uh, yeah, exactly. And for them, like
Amazing.
for some of them were looking at it as a competition. Okay, I don't want Usman to have more of this information than I do.
That, yeah,
So it
exactly.
was a great thing, but
Wow.
it wasn't light because that was a turning point in our lives. Because imagine young individuals going to university. Sometimes you have like different things to concentrate on.
Very
Um,
true.
the party life is there, the another social life there. There are other things happening, and you may want to participate in it. But then we used to do all those things around the weekend. So now instead of going out doing some party and all this stuff, we're like, no, let us use part of this time to stay home, debate on a particular book, and then move on. So in the university, we started having arguments, debate clubs, and stuff like that. So I participated in some of those debates, and then I showed that okay, there is a possibility of even exploring more because once you have the information, you need to say it. Because I was
Very
definitely
true.
passionate about this knowledge that I was getting, but I needed to say it with a team. I needed to say it with an army. I needed to know that
Mm,
okay, African youths are Ife, like they're comfortable debating about these issues because that is
exactly.
our future. And
Mm,
somehow, Pan Africanism development have been centralized within the minds of the old. It was like old
exactly.
professors, retired individuals that will go back to the village and start talking about this history. Then I said this question: why not the young individuals now? How do we make sure that we take the narratives from just a historic perspective and relate it to our contemporary issues? And that's
Mm,
where development come into play. You can read a national policy, a national document, a law or something adopted by a particular country, then look at how it can be connected to an event, to a policy that was adopted, and draw lessons. Why it didn't work then? Why do you think it's working now? So these were critical thoughts that we have in school, in the development unit in the University of the Gambia. Back home, we used to talk about these things, do assignment, reflection papers around it. So somehow, this was just like, a bit of repackaging everything into, something that I can share with a wider audience beyond the
mm.
university. beyond my friends that I sit with on weekends alone. So until this day that I went to attend a Pan-African conference in the Gambia, I don't even know who the organizers were. Imagine I just dodged from a French civilization class to go and attend this event. So I was there and we were talking about Pan-Africanism and all that. Then, at some point, because it was, a bit of like very, with all respect to the elderly people, but somehow the speakers were too old and it was a generation gap. Like I can feel that gap between the audience. What they were saying really makes sense. It's historic. It's a good information.
Yeah.
But there was a gap between the audience and the people that were speaking to us. So I was like, I told one of my friends that I think we just have to walk out of this place and maybe come back later. So when I walked out of the conference room, I met a young, not really young, like she's in her 50s now, and she was holding a camera and doing some interviews. But I recognized her online and how she portrayed the Gambia in a very positive way. And her YouTube channel was just growing then. I said to her, I really recognize you. I know you're doing a great job for the country. Please keep it up. And she was like, oh, this is the first time I'm seeing a Gambian who actually is a subscriber to my YouTube channel.
Wow.
Please, yes, I just want you to say one or two things. So, it was nothing was formal there. She had like mobile phones or something and just put it right before me, asked these questions. I was giving my answers just to share the normal conversation I have with my friends at home, in class, and the list goes on. So these somehow,
I think
get
that is the video I saw. That should be the video I saw. Yes. That was a famous video we saw.
Exactly. So that was the video, and then it was consumed by people all over the world. And a lot of attention was given to it. Then I started to see that, okay, if I can say this 3 minutes video, then I can definitely do more. Let there be more conversation. If I can trigger more young Africans to be interested in these dynamics, because skill set is really important, but the mindset is equally what we need in Africa in order to transform the continent. I don't believe when people say, no, we don't have the skills. Of course we do. Skills, creativity is something molded in us. And you can see creativity from our arts, creativity from our culture, creativity from our history and everything. So people cannot, make us to just sit down in the continent and believe that we don't have solutions on our own. So knowing that, yes, we have one aspect of it, how do we do by changing the narratives in our minds, in our thinking? How do we perceive Africa to be? What do we look at the future of the continent? How do we want to really live as a young generation? What are some of the things that we really want to realize as a people? So this has to be a constant conversation among young Africans because we are the future.
Exactly.
So nobody should make us to believe that we don't have to talk now, like we have to wait for our time. When is that time, for instance? Is it 5 years? We don't know. Is it 10 years? We don't know. Is it the next 50 years? We don't know. But all we know is there are strategies, there are policies adopted by African heads of state for Agenda 2063. In 2063, which of the presidents currently in Africa can we call and hold them accountable for this vision that they set? None. So it takes us. So these questions, this debate has to be at the local level. It has to be at the village level, city, town, national, district, regional. We have to have these arguments as young people and shape a blueprint.
Yeah.
So that's how we look at it. And then I was like, yes, let me dedicate more time to this, do more research, more reading, more consultancy, build a network of young individuals, start engaging them in these conversations, and let's project what the future will be.
Yeah. So really, really, like I have just been sitting here, just like soaking in the knowledge and everything. And because a lot of things you said are very, are very practical steps from your experiences that are very unique to you, and also on a general sense the experience is also very very general to a lot of young persons across the continent. Most of us grew up having this dissatisfaction with a lot of things we saw around our various countries across the continent. For me, I remember just going through African history and being very dissatisfied with a lot of things I was seeing. And I think some of the mismatch that we find is between young people having this dissatisfaction and not knowing exactly where to get the adequate or necessary information to begin to act on it. So information and actions to execute it. So you knew what you wanted, the kind of change you wanted. You went for the kind of information that will help you to create that change, and you took actions. But that's where we find a lot of mismatch. So the next question is like putting two questions together. First of we talk a lot about young people, Africa, changing the narratives, development to practically take to redefine the narratives of the continent. Because we're always saying young people, this young people, that how can young people? Because we had a conversation on Thursday, if you remember, Komi, where we said sometimes we talk about the fact that we say young people in governance, but the truth is that some young persons are not even building their minds enough to be able to take the mantle of leadership. How prepared are the young people? So how can young people begin to position for?
Yeah, I think you're muted. Odobong, you're muted. Yes, okay. You can speak up now.
Yeah, so I said, so how can young people begin to play? Okay, so how can young people begin to play that continent? Because we talked a lot about young people. Despite what is going on, how can we get things done on the continent?
Yes, thank you so much. I think when you were talking about the context and there was a bit of a break-in, but I can also sense some of the information that you did mention. It is a big concern for all of us, because somehow the leadership style in Africa have been disturbed, and it has been shaped in a way that most of the young people, like, there is a gap between what leadership is and the role that young people have to play in their societies. So it's like leadership is reserved for certain people, and in that category young people are not included. So somehow we grew up not putting questions on leadership, not asking relevant things, shaping our future, totally different from the roles that we should be contributing in when it comes to our communities, our countries, and the list goes on. So one thing that I've realized is we at some point have to sit down and say, what do we really want as young people? You see, we have to answer these questions ourselves. What do we really want? Leadership is not just because I am young, I deserve to be in leadership position. It's not determined by age, and it should not be determined by age. So what really needs to happen is we have to focus on saying that age is one thing. Being young, time is in favor of you. You can be active. You have the potentials. You have the powers in you. Your brain is still fresh. But what other value should we have? Let us remember that a number of us, young people, are handpicked by politicians across the continent.
Very true.
And use them against our own agenda as young people.
Very true. Very true.
So somehow,
I wanted to ask that question as the next, but thank God you're talking about it. You can move
exactly.
On. Yeah.
So we come to realize that somehow it makes it very difficult. So what we really need to do is to really identify the leadership style that we want as young people, the leadership values that we want in our leaders, the principles that we want our leadership to be, and how do we instill that amongst us?
Exactly.
So when we have a leadership, when we have a youth group, when we have a youth movement, when we have a youth business platform or anything, all these principles, all these values are nurtured in. So we don't have to be a youthful group where one individual who is leading or anything is like one of the president that we can sit down here and publicly criticize, when in our own platform a young individual is behaving the same way. So we have to understand that first, the leadership qualities, the interest, the future that we want to build is not just about the age number, but it's about the values in us. It's about the principles, and it's about knowledge. You see, we cannot build a country without knowledge of the self. So for anyone that we look up to for leadership, there should be knowledge. We have to base that on knowledge. We have to base those things in values, in facts, in principles. That is really going to add something beneficial to ourselves, to our communities, and to the continent that we want to build. But what we've realized is youth somehow, there is a big disconnection from us and what is really the issues happening. There's a big disconnection between youth and politics. And by politics, I'm not talking about the crowd. The crowd is always the youth. The crowd is always the youth. But the politics of participating, the politics of decision making, the politics of initiating the programs, the future, that's where the youths are not. And we are still the majority. So we have to understand that we need to put our energy where necessary. We need to put our skills where necessary. We need to rethink about values, about principles in the continent, and instill that in us. And sometimes it takes a movement, it takes an organization. And that's why youth platforms like this are important, so that we can exchange about these things.
Exactly.
Have a platform, have an organization, have a movement. Let there be connection among young Africans, continental wide, abroad. Let there be this synergy, so that we can put all these discussions in our own table before we move forward. Because once we don't have the discussions among us, now when we even approach the leadership, we don't know the direction we are going. And that is one of the most frustrating things. You ask yourself, yes, the continent is frustrating. We have big challenges in Africa. We have leadership issues in Africa. But what is the way forward?
Exactly.
Where is the generation that is determined enough to change these narratives? What are the values in them? What are the principles? What are the alternatives that they bring into the table to say, okay, these elderly generation, these current structures are really not fit for purpose and really not serving our interest? Then how do we make sure that we come with an alternative? We come with a selling agenda. We come with an agenda that can be, looked at and really understand that, yes, there is a way forward. So this takes a collective effort among organizations, among movements, among young Africans in the continent and in abroad to come together and brainstorm on these things. And by doing so, we can definitely approach any structure. Because there's this common saying that when the tigers, unite, I mean, they can defeat a lion, and that is so because they're not united, you can easily destroy all the spider webs. So we have to understand that, recognize where our efforts are, recognize where our energies are, bring it together as young people. Then by doing so, we have a whole generation, we have a whole future to build together. and that will promote the Africa that we want.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Otobo, I'll come to you shortly, but let me just ask this question because we know you to be a very big frontier of the Pan-Africanism, and we see a lot of works you do. You have an organization that promotes Pan-Africanism, and we know you as a very young, passionate, and Pan-Africanist. We want to know because there are some persons that will be watching that don't even know what Pan-Africanism is because of just like you said, the gap. There's a lot of generational gap in that space, and we've left it for the older ones to be talking about it. If not that I'm someone that likes reading and is passionate about Africa, I almost wouldn't have known what Pan-Africanism is because I hardly find people talk about it. But in the drive of seeing Africa to be better, I had to read and search out to know what it is all about. And that was also how I met you. So we would like to know what really is Pan-Africanism and why is it relevant now? Why is it relevant right now in the history of Africa?
Thank you so much for that brilliant question. You see, Pan-Africanism is a term coined, in the early 20th century per se. And here is the argument. Of course, we have Sylvester Williams, coming up with such a word, with such a phrase to say, Pan-Africanism. And that is the collective efforts. It can be a deliberate effort of Africans coming together in Africa and in abroad, but collectively determine the destiny of Africa and Africans. That is a simple way to put what Pan-Africanism is. Now, here's the point with the term Pan-Africanism. Once it was coined, it was within an individuals who were believed to be the radicals. These were people against the structures. So somehow they've been branded in a way that they're negative, they're anti-progress, they're anti-civilization, they're anti-Westerns and
as rebels.
They're rebels, exactly.
Yes.
So as a result of this, our systems, our politics, our economy, our social lives was kind of hostile to the people who call themselves Pan-Africanist. And our educational structures equally ignores the Pan-African teaching, the Pan-African scholarly works, the Pan-Africans who contributed immensely in the education side. So these books, they've written thousands of books that you cannot find in your school curriculum.
Very true.
They have tons of arguments. They have tons of issues that you cannot find in a public library, you cannot find in a public museum, because such was believed to be anti the system already established by the colonialist. So what really happened is the core, the fundamentals in Pan-Africanism is identifying that first, Africa is for Africans, home and abroad. And there is the need for Africa as a continent to build a united people. Africans in the diaspora, Africans abroad, Africans in the continent, there has to be an Africa or Africans identified, united with a force to collectively take decisions on behalf of the people of African descent. So such arguments have been forwarded by different scholars, from the Marcus Garvey, the B. Du Bois, the Sylvester Williams, John Henry Clark's, Yusuf. The list goes on. You come down to the continent, we have prominent leaders like Nkrumah who champion it on a leadership side, on a political side as well. And you have others like Patrick Emery Lumumba, and the list goes on. Amilcar Cabral. We have prominent individuals who at independence in the continent redefined and restructured their politics, their agenda in an African way, in a Pan-African structure, all of a sudden, their people were torn against them. And that's how we started losing the Lumumbas. We lose Nkrumah because he was overthrown, and the list goes on. So over and over, we went on ages where even the individuals who were at least bold enough at independence to say, we are African, we want to be governed the African way, and we want to determine our destiny as Africans, were eliminated. So now came another breed of African leaders, some of whom were afraid because they thought they can equally be eliminated by the same structure that eliminated the pioneers. Some did not even try. And as a result of this, it somehow makes it really difficult for the structures, for the politics, and for almost everything that we are doing in the continent to be in an African setup. So this, equally with the education, you come to realize that in universities, in schools, most of these topics are not brought in the light. But now, why do we really need to know about Pan-Africanism as young people? Because apart from Pan-Africanism, all the rest have been imported to the continent.
Very true.
One may argue that no, here is capitalism. It comes with all its facets. It comes with a structure already established by a world that does not consult Africa. Here is communism. It came with its own ideology. It comes with its own philosophy. It comes with its own narratives, already defined by individuals whom did not consult Africa and Africans. Then we move on to other things as well. So you come to realize that different things, different aspects, different issues have been happening around the continent, and somehow it makes it difficult for the people to relate on Pan-Africanism. But it is relevant today because we need to restructure who we are. We need a new blueprint. We need a new development narratives, and we can only do so by reconsulting the existing structures on Pan-Africanism, the scholarly work on Pan-Africanism, its philosophy, and the list goes on.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm sure those that are watching us have really gotten so much value today. And as we try to wrap up and come to an end for our event today, we know we've taken much of your time. We'll be wrapping up just 2 questions, and then we wrap up for today. I want to ask now, is there a light? Can you see a light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to Pan-Africanism? Because you are right at the forefront of this movement. As far as I know, for young people in Africa, you are at the forefront. Are you seeing a light in this tunnel when it comes to the unification of Africa and Pan-Africanism?
Yeah, maybe it's the time in which we came in. But what I've realized is we have an opportunity to change the narrative as a generation right now. And somehow I got into the discussion space and everything in around the COVID period, when almost all these platforms came into. We have developed Zoom, Google Meet, and all these issues happening. People couldn't travel, so we started an interaction online. And that has given us an opportunity. Myself, for instance, now I am connected with Africans in more than 30 African countries. So, which is a significant thing to do if you really want to change the narratives, because now we are bridging that misunderstanding, that disconnection that was happening among us as Africans. We're able to talk right now. We're able to exchange. We're able to debate. And if we promote this discussion, then the misunderstanding among Africans is going to be defeated. That we can interact here now on this platform as Africans. So if I cannot pay a flight ticket to go to Nigeria to attend an event, now I can join virtually and give a contribution. If someone cannot move to another country because they cannot afford the flight tickets, now they can join virtually and make a contribution. And somehow that has been really positive in the discussion side. But we must also be cognizant of the fact that it's not just enough to discuss. We have to move to the structures. And that structure takes a political will. It takes a political action. And that is why youths have to go into the leadership, have to go into the political arena, have to contribute socially and economically. We have to occupy all these spaces to have a genuine contribution that is going to trigger the change that we really want. But yes, a simple answer to your question will be yes. When I look at the future, when I look into the engagements and consulting the realities and everything that is happening around me and around the continent, I see a positive side where the young people are heading to in Africa, and I believe that that will be positive and really helpful for a generation of Africans.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. When it comes to Pan-Africanism, I believe it will take just like you said, a lot of policies. Young people really needs to get into that policy space where we can really create policies that will help to trigger this movement and really create a level playing ground where this can work. So just like you said, we really need to have young people going into power, going into the political space where policies can be made that will effect great change, because we really are the ones that receive the backlash when it comes to ill policies that are being made by our leaders. So we really need to move into that space. Thank you so much. I know we've taken much of your time. I'm going to ask this question and maybe we get a last word from you and we call it a day. We 360 Leadership Network, which is the organization that is organizing this event today, we are right in the leadership space, trying to do whatever we can do to tell the African story when it comes to leadership and bring up people to speak and have a way to shape the narrative and get young people involved in the leadership space of Africa. And there are several other organizations of young people doing stuff like this as well on the internet and social media at large. We want to know, what can we do better? What other things can we get ourselves engaged in to ensure that we touch the continent and get this message across? Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. So one of the things that I have seen you already doing is the fact that you're utilizing, or you're enjoying the dividends of whether the fourth industrial revolution or the third industrial revolution, if you are a student of Jeremy Rifkin. But it's really good. It's really good with the fact that you're already doing some of this engagement. So I think the only thing that I can say is keep doing it. Do it with principle. Get individuals that can share their stories and their perspectives and other young Africans can relate to, and formally organize it if it is not already, but do the establishment. Look forward to engaging more young where need be to physically appear in different forums as well. Do it because the physical connections are equally there. In as much as we can face each other virtually and have this conversation, there's the need for us to interact, for us to live with each other, to really have more connections, to build more pillars when it comes to advancing the Pan-African narratives, when it comes to advancing the development aspects in the development that we all yearning for. So in one way or the other, it is a lot to do, but it takes youth to do it.
Exactly.
And that is an opportunity for all of us. So keep on doing it and keep just being you. Stick to the original you. That's what I say to many people. Nothing should make you, change from the real story that made you who you are, and stick to that. Be constant in what you do, and limit also. I mean, whatever the engagements are to the areas where you are iffy with the discussions and everything, and seek experts, seeks other individuals to jump in where the need be. So we have it all as young people. In Africa, outside of the continent, we have young people everywhere that can contribute to this. So invite them as much as you can.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you
I
so
don't
much,
know if
Usman.
Otobong, do you have something to say whilst we call it?
Yeah, so I think we have almost overshot the time, so not really so much
Yeah.
to say, but I just totally agree with the point. There was just something else I wanted to ask, but I think in the last part of the conversation, you actually flopped the issue itself. Right? I actually wanted to ask how can organizations, because we also have a lot of leadership movements across the continent by different young people, like the YAF, which we're running. We have this leadership network. We have Young Leaders Africa. We have YALI. We have a lot of offshoots of different things that are really happening. But one of the questions I've always asked is how can these organizations actually, what things can they do practically to actually solve problems? So I think in the last part of the conversation you actually said that, and totally agree with the point. Young persons, we need to use the tools and the machinery available at our disposal to actually create change on the continent. The media is available to us more than any other generation has ever
Very
had.
true.
We have access to technology that every other generation has ever had. We have access to tools, resources. We have access to network. Literally, we have access to voices across the continent and outside the continent who can collaborate together to create change. And I think when there's an overwhelming number of people collaborating to create change, then our overwhelming voice can actually have sway. But then young people also need to prepare, get knowledge, understand policies running their country, understand deeply, because we have the resources, we have the tools, but how many of us are also seeking knowledge? So thank you so much, Usman. Totally agree with all the points. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you so much. Thank you so much, brother. I from my end, I want to commend your knowledge. You're very deep in the wealth of knowledge about Africa. You know, one thing is to have a passion. Another thing is to sit down and get the required knowledge to fund your passion and to make you outstanding in the area of your passion. And I must commend you. I've listened to a lot of your videos, a lot of your conversations, your debates, and I'm just overwhelmed every time at the wealth of wisdom that you share with so much audacity and passion. I really must commend you. I really must commend you. It's always fresh. It's always fresh. Whenever you show up, it's just always fresh. And I must commend you. Thank you so much, brother, for all you do. And finally, we see a lot of works you do with Professor Lumumba. And he's our father. He's our father. We love him so much. We love him so
Exactly.
much.
I remember that year on campus when we listened to him for the first time. It was like, wow, Marvin was like, I really heard this man. We listened to it over and over and over again. We felt angry for the continent.
I'm telling you.
That's exactly right. That's right.
Yeah, we want to know how did you come about working with him? That's the last, and then we'll call it a day. How did you come about? We know, just like they said, birds of the same feather flocks together, and in one or two ways you met. So how did you come about your work with him, and how did you meet him?
Yeah, with Prof, I was just sitting in my room one of the days, and I received a phone call from his PA, who just introduced himself and said by the name, and then said Prof wanted to speak with me. Wow. The following day, 9 a.m. I was like, nah, this guy must be kidding. Not the Prof I know, like I couldn't believe, but there was a follow-up call to say, yes, the call is 9. Trust me, I almost didn't sleep the whole night. As early as 7 o'clock.
Trust me, I can imagine.
Yeah, so because I just didn't know what was about to happen, but I know he saw my video somewhere, and that was connected to the call. But this is PLO now. Early morning, I was on top of the building, like there shouldn't be an interruption with the internet or anything.
I'm telling you.
So I was already there waiting. 9, then this call came in. I spoke with him for about 3 minutes. Like, that's him. but these 3 minutes was like everything.
I'll tell
So
you.
I was like, oh, like this is really happening now. So he invited me for an event the following day and said he will be speaking and he wants me to contribute in that same event. So he spoke for a few minutes and then invited me in the event. I came in and gave my contribution. Then from there, there was like more connection. Now we could exchange at a personal level. So when I went to Rwanda for my leadership program, until I finished, then I said I was gonna go to Nairobi to meet him. So he sent me an invitation and everything to go meet him at the PLO Lumumba Foundation, and it was like a mentorship program for me. On a daily basis, I was with him in his office. Off the office, we traveled together in Nairobi. I mean, like provincial Kenya. We traveled hundreds of kilometers, just to go and see where the story began. So that's where you meet his, I mean, generations of his family lineage and stuff. Go to the village, walk down those areas, see what is, really happening and where everything began. Went to schools that he attended from primary to junior high school and all that. So that was like a turning point, and a lot of information was said, a lot of wisdom, because this is someone that I really had admiration. I was watching online and all that. Now here is me and him, breakfast, lunch, dinner. So it was just amazing. And it was a lot of things to do. So from there, I became formally a member of the Piolo Lumumba Foundation and start to advance the same discussions with him. Because one of the things that I remember him saying, I mean, no one knows, but I mean, he might be retiring anytime because the age and everything. So you come to realize that he's really concerned about who carries the message, who delivers
Yeah,
the
and also
message.
raising young people to do the same.
Exactly. So that he's really concerned, and I was grabbing all these things. So even after meeting him, going back home, these are constant issues that reminds me of the role that I have to play and the role that all the young people across the continent have to play in making sure that the words of Prof, his knowledge, his wisdom, and everything he keeps sharing can be transformed, can be passed on to generations. And from there, it's been really good. We met on different occasions, of course, and it's really amazing.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. So for those people that want to connect with you more, how can they? Can you give us information on how we can get in touch with the Young Ancestors Foundation? How they can connect with the Young Ancestors Foundation?
Yes, thank you so much. So Young Ancestors Foundation for now is on social media. Like you can reach out to them on LinkedIn, you can reach out to the team on Instagram, you can reach out to the team on Twitter. So they're active on all those spaces. So for anyone that really wants to do anything with it, also the website is, I mean, is under construction, so that is why it has not been. We're doing a lot of work, but everything will be manifested once the website and everything is launched. So for now, we just take some few stories and footages from what we're doing and upload in the social media platform. But I'm sure programs and some of these things that we are talking about are going to be models that we will outline. It will be on the website for people to access. And then we are trying to build a force of young people across the continent and in the diaspora. So just like we registered Young Ancestors in the Gambia, it is registered as an organization. We've equally registered it in Canada recently, and we will register it in different African countries, and we'll equally do the registration in Europe and many other parts of the world, just to make sure that Africans, wherever they are, can have access to this organization, can do whatever they have as information or things to contribute to the continent, because Young Ancestors is formed on a spirit that yes, Usman is one thing, but we need to do more for the millions of young
Exactly.
Africans out there. I am
Exactly.
being very realistic with this because You see, I used to receive a phone call. Someone will speak with me, and this still happen. They will call you, speak with you, and you can hear them like in tears. You know that how they wish they were just you when they were
Mm,
at your age, and
very true.
sometimes they have things to say with you. They will
Very
send
true.
you a $10. They want to send you a $50. They want to send you $100. All these
Very
things
true.
is really important. This is really good. But Usman is content of the words that they're sharing with me. If they call and share information, if they call and appreciate what I do, is enough motivation. Now, the small token that they're sending to Usman can support a young individual out there. So that is
Very
why
true.
the foundation was formed to say, okay,
Yes.
instead of anything coming to Usman, let it go to the foundation. Let it
Mm,
serve as a support for all the young Africans out there who needs it.
wow.
Because we have millions to pull out of where they are right now. And that is the focus of the foundation. So we're doing some stuff on the ground and it will definitely come to manifest very soon.
Wow, thank you so much, brother. We are grateful, and we are 360 Leadership Network. We are equally registered as well, and starting up to do the works that we want to do. We have a lot planned out for this year, and we are
Yeah.
ever ready to collaborate with you in however way you find us worthy. We are here to join you in your work, both in Nigeria, here in Europe, and the world at large. So thank you so much for all you do, and we are surely going to keep a close contact so we
Thank you
can
so much,
do a
Usman.
lot of other works together
Thank you.
across our
Thank you.
continent.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank
Do
you.
you have any last words for us as you go? We are done.
I just want to say
A
thank you,
quote.
and the people
Thank you
watching,
too. Keep on
Thank you.
raising more Usmans.
Thank you. Thank you,
thank you.
brother. We are
The
grateful.
Ubuntu
We are
spirit. Thank
grateful.
you so
Yes,
much.
Thank
yes,
you for
yes.
joining. Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Komi. Thank you so much.
Wow, wow, that was a blast. That was a blast. Oti, what can you say? What can you say?
Well, I think we have already overflocked the time, but what I'll just say is,
Exactly.
Nelson Mandela said something. He says, sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. So I think the responsibility
And you
for
must
greatness, for
allow that
leadership
greatness to
is falling
blossom.
upon us. Exactly, exactly. So you must allow it to blossom by connecting, by networking, by utilizing the resources because we don't have any excuse. Our fathers could have had excuse, but our generation does not have an excuse.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you so much, everybody that joined us. Thank you so much, Otobo. Thank you to Usman that just left. We are really grateful. Everybody that joined us, you're wonderful. We love you. We appreciate your time. Thank you for all you do. And for those that will rewatch this video, we want you to watch, share your thoughts with us, tell us what you think, share it with your friends, and also don't forget to like and share this video. Make sure you click on the like button
And
so we
also,
can see
lastly,
those
we
that are
also have
interacting.
some updates about the 360 tribe. So probably they should also join the Facebook page and group to see the updates about joining the tribe.
Exactly, exactly. Ensure you follow us on Facebook and also on Instagram. We have an update and also a very powerful information that's coming up very soon. So you don't want to miss. You don't want to miss that. You don't want to miss that. So thank you, everybody. That is that for this month's Unmute Yourself. And next month we have something powerful coming. It's always fresh every day, and you won't want to miss next month. So until next month, thank you so much, and do have a blessed weekend. God bless you. Thank you. Thank you, Otobong. Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.